I've personally never come across a person incarcerated that I spoke to and heard their story that there wasn't a major event that was traumatic and completely understandable as to how the decisions you made after that event ended you up here. And if you're not given the skills on how to handle those emotions, if that situation ever occurs again, what is going to happen other than you ending up back here once again? You know, I met a woman who was traumatized on a reserve. Her child drowned. Her behavior after that ended her up incarcerated. She spent a year there and was released. A year later, the exact same thing happened to her other child. And she was back in jail within days because that's where she felt comfortable. Because that's where she was the first time, right? She didn't know what to do. She went back, the same thing happened. She had no skills on how to deal with it the first time. You weren't taught anything on how to handle that first situation. So of course you didn't know what to do the second time, but to do the exact same thing again. She needed help. Like losing the one, she needed help. Never mind now two, and that she's, you know, people just write her off, unfortunately. And that's just the mentality in there, you know. The thing is that I think that some people think that like trauma is subjective. And, well, I don't think your trauma is as bad as my trauma, and, you know, that shouldn't have traumatized you, and, well, what do you mean? Everybody goes through that kind of thing, you know, those kind of mentalities, you know, and so I think that one thing that was beneficial for me learning on all the things, in restorative justice, first of all, so that's where it started, was just learning that, like, my trauma is valid. Like, my trauma is justified. It doesn't justify my behavior. That's not what you're trying to do. You're not justifying the behavior because of the trauma, but we still need to justify the trauma. And I think, like, in a prison, I think they're scared and uneducated. It's not their fault. They're uneducated. Those staff aren't educated to be doing what they're doing in there, not for mental health purposes. That's bizarre. What do you go to school for? 10 days? That's crazy. Like, come on, you're not educated to help people with their mental health. Your mental health isn't good. So what do you mean? Like, you know, and I'm not saying your mental health needs to be on point to help other people with their mental health, but you need to be aware of your mental health to be helping people with theirs. So if you're not, you know, if you just think it's dismissive, that's not helpful, you know, and it's not conducive, and it's unfortunate. Like, the recidivism will never stop if you're not going to help provide healing to these reasons, which are the traumas. The reasons come from the traumas, you know, and justifying the trauma is not justifying the crime you committed because of the trauma. And I think people are scared to do that. If I justify your trauma, I'm justifying your crime, and that's not the case. Justifying my trauma will allow me to take accountability for my crime.